After going through cancer, after going through treatment, we had all kinds of anxieties and concerns. However, I never imagined that we wouldn't know if we could feed our baby.
It's a real problem for moms, and especially mothers like myself who have adopted our children.
My 10-year-old daughter and I loaded up the car and hit all the grocery stores between here and Chattanooga and North Georgia, and to try and buy up as many cans as we could without buying it all.
You shouldn't have to drive 4 hours round trip for formula.
Parents growing more desperate by the day with a nationwide infant formula shortage showing no signs of letting up. Let's bring in Dr. Nicole Saphier, a Fox News contributor and a doc we can trust, to tell parents what they need to do in these dire situations. Let's first of all put up, Doc, the amount of, how much this out of stock with baby formula thing has accelerated. Look at this. November of 2021, 11% of stores reported being out of formula. The week of April the 3rd, it was up to 31%. The week of April the 24th, 40% of stores that sell baby formula reported they were out of stock. This is a crisis.
Oh, undoubtedly, John. About 5 months of age, only about 15% of infants are exclusively breastfed, meaning that about 85% of children are relying on some level of formula for their nutrition. And while the supply chain issues has certainly exacerbated the formula shortages, Abbott also had a voluntary recall earlier this year, with the FDA still pending on looking at their factory. They're trying to ramp up production, but we really need Abbott's manufacturing capacity to be up and running to get out this supply. But John, there are some alternatives. If you are finding that you cannot get formula for your child, first thing you should do, of course, you should always contact your OBGYN, your pediatrician's office. They will have formula, some samples there. Hospitals, formula food banks, there still may be supplies out there. Pediatricians can offer some great advice on some alternatives for children. You know, children under the age of 6 months really are exclusively breastfed or depend on formula. Those are the critical ones. But those who are 6 months and older, when you start introducing some of those solid foods, there are some alternatives such as coconut water and Pedialyte that may be able to help supplant for a couple of days. But again, none of this is a long-term solution. And ultimately, we need to make sure that those children are getting the nutrients they need. It's tempting to want to give your children water and cow's milk, but under the age of 12 months, it doesn't give them the iron and vitamin C and other nutrients that is contained within breast milk and formula that they really need.
You know, I've heard that some parents are trying to formulate their own formula. What do you say to those parents?
Well, listen, John, first of all, parents know their children better than anybody else. However, not everybody understands what infants need. They're not just mini adults. It's not like you can just have them adopt. You can put in your dinner and put it in a blender and feed it to the child. That doesn't necessarily work for children. There are some things that could actually be toxic to them in quantities, which is why formula and baby food is so heavily regulated. So I do not suggest putting together meals without consulting pediatricians and nutritionists. You want to make sure that you're giving your child something that is safe. And while most things will be okay, I can tell you that even small doses of a few things can be toxic to children and potentially lethal.
All right, so make sure you stay in close touch with your pediatrician on all of this. Hey, Doc, another issue that parents are becoming increasingly concerned about, and that is this number of cases of hepatitis among children worldwide. It was identified last week as some 320 countries around the world. It's likely grown from there. Here in the United States, let's put this up on the screen, 109 cases in 25 states and territories involving 5 deaths. 90% of the children were hospitalized. 14% had to receive a liver transplant. And this is an interesting statistic here. Greater than 50% of them had an infection with an adenovirus. What do we know about this and how quickly it's spreading?
Well, interestingly, John, first of all, the term hepatitis in itself means inflammation of the liver. Most commonly, it's actually caused by hepatitis viruses. We've all heard of hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E. Interestingly, all of these cases, none of them were caused by one of those hepatitis viruses. So the question is, well, what is causing that? Several things have been looked at. About half of the children in the United States, which that number is about 109, half of them, they have identified adenovirus, which is a very common springtime virus that most kids kids get. The stomach, that's where you see them sniffling and they have a stomach bug. It's a very common virus. It's not a non-reportable virus. And a lot of doctors don't even test it, but it does look about 50% of the children have tested positive for that. Some of the cases internationally also have tested positive for that. So they're looking at that closely. One of the concerns that I've had all along, that with the sheltering in place and the keeping children out of social settings, we've dampened our immune systems. And so it's possible that they're having an exacerbated or a more severe response to these common viruses because of that. They've also been able to exclude SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. It doesn't seem to be responsible for the majority of these cases. And the average age of children who are getting this pediatric hepatitis is about 2. So there has been some fears that it's being caused by the COVID vaccine, but the overwhelming majority of the children who have been diagnosed with this pediatric hepatitis are too young to have been vaccinated.
Right. In the UK, where there's been a significant cluster, public health officials are examining a possible connection to dogs. So we'll see where all of this goes. Doc, always great to catch up with you. Thank you for...
The best thing, John, is to keep your kids healthy, keep them active, good diet, exercise, and take them into their pediatrician if they're not feeling well.
All right, Doc, always great to see you. Thanks for your take on things.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.